With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen ad-free and get to know Natalie and me better by subscribing on Apple Podcast or heading over to patreon.com/themurderdiariespod. On Spotify, you can do the same by searching The Murder Diaries ad-free.
Welcome to The Murder Diaries. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige.
If we're lucky, our journey through life will be a long one, marked by many great milestones. Some of these milestones will be amazing experiences, like traveling abroad or planning your wedding day. Others will be less significant, that last high school exam, that first summer job. No matter what the metaphorical landmarks represent, they're all part of that specialness of being alive and the road we get to travel along the way. On June 19th, 2008, Jennifer Catcheway was ready to experience one of these milestones. Actually, it was the first big one of her literal adult life, her 18th birthday. And she was looking forward to it. Jennifer lived in Portage la Prairie, a small city in the Central Plains region of Manitoba, Canada. And she was excited about the celebration being planned by her family in her honor. There would be cake and presents and family. The people she loved all gathered around to help her celebrate her big day. It was going to be great. But the thing about life is that the road isn't always so straight and narrow. Sometimes it just takes one wrong turn to put you off course and down a path you can't return from. That's unfortunately what happened to Jennifer Catcheway, a bright, young, pretty girl who was ready to begin mapping the next phase of her own journey. Instead, she made other plans. And unbeknownst to her family and friends, Jennifer would find herself along the side of a remote part of Highway 6 near Waterhen, Manitoba, a place from which she disappeared for good. There's much more to know about Jennifer Catcheway than just her missing person status, or even the mysterious way in which she vanished. And there are so many questions surrounding what happened to her that day. But Jennifer was a sweet and kind young woman who loved her family and was equally loved in return. The energy and commitment her mother and father have put toward finding her is a testament to what a special person Jennifer truly is. Maybe one day she'll be found and we'll know what really happened to her. Until then, this is her story.
Used to think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
An important thing to know about Jennifer Catcheway is that of her Indigenous heritage. She was born on the Sconan First Nation Reserve in Sconan, Manitoba on June 19, 1990. She's part of a historical tribe that dates all the way back to the mid-1800s. In fact, her namesake has been part of the leadership of the Sconan First Nation for decades. Since 1950, a Catcheway has been a tribal chief more often than not. That's an impressive pedigree. When she was still very young, Jennifer's parents left the Sconan Reserve and moved 4 hours south to Winnipeg. They lived there for a short time before relocating to the small town of Portage la Prairie, which also happens to be the headquarters for another Indigenous reserve, the Dakota Tippee First Nation. Portage has a long history of being home to several tribes, including the Cree and the Dakota Sioux, among others. These nations inhabited the area at various times for thousands of years. And in the early 1990s, it became the place that the Catcheway family would call home. So let's talk about Portage la Prairie. It's likely to meet anyone's expectations of small-town living. It combines the serenity and natural beauty of rural life with easy access to vibrant cultural and urban amenities. Portage is less than 50 miles from the bustling city of Winnipeg. All in all, it was a perfect place for Bernice and Wilfred Catcheway, Jennifer's parents, to plant roots for their family. This is where Jennifer grew from childhood into your typical Canadian teenager. She was outgoing and funny with lots of friends, but also tender-hearted and thoughtful about the feelings of others, especially those she was closest to. Jennifer was one of those people who never met a stranger, always stopping to start a conversation with anyone she met. To know Jennifer meant you would always have a great friend and person in your life. Around the time of her disappearance in the summer of 2008, Jennifer was working at a local A&W, one of those fast food restaurants you go to for burgers and fries and root beer floats. She was also living with her boyfriend.
That may sound a little unconventional for someone who was barely an adult, but this living arrangement was approved by Jennifer's parents. In fact, Jennifer shared a home with her boyfriend on the exact same street as her mom and dad. Just ahead of her 18th birthday, life was fairly normal and pretty good for Jennifer, all things considered.
So let's talk about Jennifer's birthday. The plan was for her party to be held at Bernice and Wilfred's home, a gathering complete with grilled steaks and family. By all accounts, Jennifer was looking forward to this get-together. Who wouldn't it be? But just days before the event, plans changed ever so slightly for Jennifer. Nothing major, just a spontaneous thing that she decided to do. And while she wasn't specific about her plans, Jennifer was courteous enough to leave behind a note letting her parents know that she'd be away. The note read, "Gone to see my cousin. Be back later. Love you. Put my ice cream in the fridge. I'll have it when I get back." The cousin she was referring to in the note was 28-year-old Sean Catcheway. And hanging out with Sean was nothing out of the ordinary for Jennifer. She was close with her cousin. And as far as anyone was concerned, Jennifer would be in safe company. And the last-minute plans were no cause for alarm either because Bernice and Wilfred knew their daughter was conscientious and dependable. They trusted her to make the right decisions always. A couple days later, on the morning of her birthday, June 19th, 2008, Jennifer called her mom and dad to give them an update. She said she was really looking forward to the party and couldn't wait to see everyone later that night. So Jennifer's parents busied themselves with getting everything ready for the celebration. And before long, the burning charcoal was in the backyard air and fresh steaks went on the grill. But the hours passed and Jennifer was a no-show. Where was she? The first thought Bernice and Wilfred had was that maybe she'd gotten held up with some friends. Maybe her other plans had gone long. She was always so good about checking in, but on this occasion, her family understood that she might have lost track of time. It was her 18th birthday after all.
This episode was brought to you in part by AquaTrue. I love my AquaTrue pitcher so much. I actually just got over an end of summer, beginning of fall sickness. And let me tell you, having an extra water pitcher was invaluable. If you know me, you know I'm a bit of a germaphobe. When either me or my husband is sick, I get the ick using the same vessel to get our water. You never know what germs are spreading when you're gathering your water. So it just meant a lot to me that I knew I could use this separate pitcher and not be spreading germs to my husband. Call me weird. Maybe I am, but I personally appreciated it. On top of all of that, I'm always looking for ways to make sure that I can get my water in. I am a water hog. I'm always drinking water, and having this purifier pitcher makes it that much easier.
And if you're going to be drinking water, why not drink purified water? AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process. And if you choose a countertop purifier, there's no installation or plumbing. It removes 15 times more contaminants than ordinary pitcher filters and are specifically designed to combat chemicals like PFAS in your water supply. Let me tell you a little bit about PFAS. They're found in almost 45% of U.S. tap water, and that's why I'm grateful for AquaTrue. They're certified to remove these contaminants, which I don't want to be drinking.
Me either. And you know who else I don't want drinking it? My corgi Posey. Pets are part of our family, and AquaTrue understands that they deserve nothing but the best. So Posey's now drinking AquaTrue too.
And the great thing about AquaTrue is that they have water purifiers to fit every type of home. Say you have a large household or it's just you and your pup at home. There's something for everyone. On top of all of that, the filters are affordable and long-lasting. No changing filters every 2 to 3 months, which we know can be a hassle. AquaTrue isn't like that. Their filters last from 6 months to 2 years.
By the way, AquaTrue water tastes so good. I can actually taste the difference between my refrigerated water that's also filtered compared to my AquaTrue. And AquaTrue wins every time for me. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and makes a great gift, by the way, since the holidays are coming up. Today, Murder Diaries listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code DIARIES at checkout. That's 20% off for Murder Diaries listeners on any AquaTrue purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use promo code DIARIES.
Jennifer never showed up for the party. In fact, her family didn't hear from her all that night. Her parents tried to convince themselves that she was just having a better time hanging out with her friends somewhere, and that she had decided to stay the night with her cousin. But then another day passed without hearing from Jennifer, and then another. And now worry began to hang like a pall over Bernice and Wilfred. They reached out to Jennifer's friends, but nobody they talked to had seen or spoken with Jennifer. Never in their wildest dreams could her parents have imagined something like this. But it suddenly and shockingly began to feel like Jennifer was missing. Just as Bernice and Wilfred were contacting family members to figure out what next steps to take, they got a curious call from Jennifer's uncle's wife. It turns out shortly before her birthday, Jennifer had been hanging out with her uncle, 38-year-old Charles Parantu, her uncle by marriage. This was news to Bernice, as Jennifer had only mentioned her cousin Sean in those last-minute plans before the party. Because of the conflicting information and still no word from Jennifer, it was time to go to the police. So that's what they did. Jennifer's parents went to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Portage la Prairie to report her missing. And to say that the RCMP didn't take Jennifer Catcheway's case seriously would be an understatement. They asked Bernice and Wilfred how old Jennifer was, and when her parents told them that Jennifer had just turned 18, the police casually instructed them to wait a week, that their daughter was probably just out drinking. After all, 18 is the minimum legal drinking age in Manitoba. Surely Jennifer was just out on some booze-filled binge, so the RCMP felt. But Bernice and Wilfred would not be mollified by the RCMP's flippant dismissal of their daughter. They knew something was wrong. This was completely uncharacteristic behavior from Jennifer. So Bernice pushed back, giving the police all the information she had gathered up to that point, specifically naming Jennifer's uncle and cousin as the two people Jennifer was last seen with.
The Royal Mounted Canadian Police did nothing with this crucial piece of information. At one of the most pivotal moments early in Jennifer's disappearance, no action was taken. Neither Jennifer's uncle nor her cousin was reached out to by the police. They didn't contact either man for a statement, nor did they go visit them in person.
As infuriating as this is, this kind of blatant inaction isn't anything new if you're a certain kind of girl or woman in Canada. The track record of injustice for Indigenous women who have disappeared or have been killed isn't a good one. Between 1946 and 2013, more than 800 Indigenous women either went missing without a trace or were murdered in cold blood. A report from the RCMP in 2014 concluded that the number grew to almost 1,200 between 1980 and 2012. And even more recent numbers say that around 4,000 Indigenous women and girls have been missing or murdered since 1956. Indigenous women represent a staggering 16% of all female homicides in Canada, while only being 4% of the female population. And according to a 2000 study by the province of Saskatchewan, the only province at the time to have systematically reviewed its missing persons files for cases involving Indigenous women, these women were found to have made up 6% of the province's population and 60% of the province's missing women cases. One of the major social and institutional dynamics working against Indigenous women in Canada is a kind of police apathy. Research recently published in the sociological journal Gender and Science revealed that Canadian police often use negative labels such as runaways when responding to cases of violence against Indigenous females. More often than not, the families of these women hear things like, "There's nothing we can do," or "It's inevitable." These statements are coming from the police, the ones that are supposed to help people in need. The loved ones of victims interviewed for the study spoke of being provided little or no information on their cases, and that authorities often gave up quickly when searching for bodies or culprits. Even worse, respondents noted attitudes of indifference, stereotyping, and the blaming of poverty, mental health issues, and questionable lifestyle for the fate of those gone missing.
It seems that these were the kinds of roadblocks that Bernice and Wilfred found themselves up against in the early days of Jennifer's disappearance in the summer of 2008. But nothing, not even the disinterest of the Portage police, would stop them from finding out what happened to their daughter.
Like most cases where Indigenous women go missing or turn up dead, families find themselves on their own when it comes to the search for answers early on. This was no different for Bernice and Wilfred. They only had their family to rely on as they combed through seemingly every street corner in Portage. Eventually, Jennifer was recognized by the police as a missing person, and they officially opened a case file. But it was her parents who were doing most of the heavy lifting when it came to an actual search. They left no stone unturned as they reached out to anyone and everyone who might be able to pinpoint Jennifer's movements in the period of time from when she left the note for her parents at home and when she called them the morning of her birthday. They were still searching and making inquiries around town when the police delivered some unexpected and surprising news. They had run Jennifer's cell phone records and found that the call Jennifer had made the morning of her birthday, the one where she told her parents she was looking forward to the party and couldn't wait to see everyone that night, had originated from almost 300 miles away from home. Jennifer had been calling from Grand Rapids, Manitoba, a town that was almost 6 hours to the north of Portage la Prairie. Jennifer's parents were obviously shocked by this information. This whole time, they assumed that Jennifer's plans with her cousin Sean had been local plans, and that she'd been calling from Portage the morning of June 19th. Something wasn't right. Things weren't adding up. And it was time to talk to Sean and Charles and find out exactly what happened to Jennifer on her birthday. Now, according to the two men, they'd all been hanging out on June 18th when they'd gotten word of a party happening in Grand Rapids. So the three of them, that's Charles, Sean, and Jennifer, piled into Charles' truck and drove the 300-some miles to join in on the fun. Police were later able to confirm that Jennifer was indeed at this party through photos taken by other attendees, as well as through confirmation from other people who said that they saw Jennifer that night. Sean and Charles said that they stayed the night in Grand Rapids and then hit the road around noon the next day, Jennifer's birthday, to return to Portage. Now, this is where things get sketchy. The route home included a stretch of road called Highway 6. And according to Uncle Charles, about halfway home to Portage la Prairie, Jennifer demanded to be let out of the truck. So Charles pulled to the side of the highway near Waterhen Junction and let Jennifer out. It should be noted that this particular part of Highway 6, the place where Charles and Sean say they left Jennifer, is exceptionally desolate. Why would they do this? Why would they leave a family member alone in the literal middle of nowhere? The town of Waterhen itself was more than an hour's drive from the junction where Jennifer was allegedly left standing. None of this makes sense. Neither Sean nor Charles ever gave a clear explanation as to why they did this. And what makes their actions seem even more openly suspicious is that more than a week passed between the time when Jennifer was left on the side of Highway 6 and when Sean and Charles came forward with their story. They'd been silent until they were forced to tell what they knew.
But for Bernice and Wilfred, anything was better than nothing. And with Sean and Charles, they had finally found something concrete, a place to search. So Jennifer's parents immediately took this new information to the police.
To reiterate, the RCMP in Portage waited almost a month before speaking with the only two people known to see Jennifer before she disappeared. When Sean and Charles were finally arrested and brought in for questioning, they were quickly questioned and released without any charges against them. Police also searched Charles' truck for any trace evidence that might suggest foul play, but nothing came of that search. If Sean Catcheway or Charles Parantu had anything useful to add to Jennifer's investigation during their interrogation, it's anyone's guess. The RCMP has kept that interview guarded. You know that's the sound of another sale on your online Shopify store. But did you know Shopify powers selling in person too? That's right. Shopify is the sound of selling everywhere. Online, in-store, on social media, and beyond.
Shopify POS is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. On top of all that, you can connect with customers in-line and online because Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools that are built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond.
Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify.
Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/murderdiaries, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/murderdiaries to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/murderdiaries.
Why do dogs suffer from weight issues, skin problems, messy poops, and low energy? It could be the popular dog food you put in their bowl each day.
Cody was sleeping a lot, wasn't playing, wasn't doing her normal stuff that she used to do.
That's why Dr. Marty, the veterinarian Forbes magazine called the Miracle Worker, created Nature's Blend. Nature's Blend is a freeze-dried raw dog food made with biologically appropriate ingredients like turkey, beef, salmon, duck, and beef liver. And once dog parents make the switch, the results can be incredible.
We got some of the dog food, and miraculously, she's playing with her other dog, Annie. She's playing with another dog. She's trotting, she's loping, and she's just feeling all around better.
For a limited time, enjoy up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Krispies, their best-selling wild-caught cod skin treats. Just go to drmartypets.com/blend. Every Nature's Blend order is backed by a 90-day money-back promise. So if you want to support your dog's digestion, soft coat, and healthy lifespan, go to drmartypets.com/blend today. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Because they were getting very little help from the police, Bernice and Wilfred kept up their own search efforts in earnest. They drove to Grand Rapids, Manitoba, in hopes of talking with anyone who might be able to shed some light on exactly what happened the night Jennifer was in town attending that party. Unfortunately, it was just another dead end. Nobody could offer anything more than what they already knew, that Jennifer had been in town for the party the night before her birthday. Back at home in Portage, the proverbial rumor mill was up and running. People were coming forward with hearsay and falsehoods of every kind. Jennifer had been buried. Jennifer's body had been burned. Jennifer had been murdered and disposed of in a garbage bin. And Bernice and Wilfred pursued every tip they got. They searched in fields, city dumpsters, ditches, garbage cans, and landfill. Any place the remains of their daughter might be found. By now, the mindset of Jennifer's parents had gone grimly from that of rescue to recovery. To add to Bernice and Wilfred Catcheway's frustration, just 4 months after the disappearance of their daughter, another young woman went missing in Portage la Prairie, a case that garnered drastically different attention and coverage than that of Jennifer's. On October 18, 2008, 24-year-old Amber McFarland was last seen leaving the Cat and Fiddle nightclub in Portage with her boyfriend at around 1 a.m. The boyfriend in question had a no-contact order against him stemming from a previous assault he made on Amber. Despite this, it was confirmed through nightclub security camera footage and later by his own admission that the boyfriend was with Amber the evening she disappeared. The club surveillance video was the last known image of Amber. She was with two men inside the bar. Her empty car was found the next day in the Midtown Motor Inn parking lot. It begs pointing out that Amber was not of Indigenous heritage. She was your typical girl next door, Caucasian and pretty and sweet, a twin even. And the response by the Portage RCMP to Amber's disappearance was a stark contrast to how they handled Jennifer Catcheway's disappearance. Within days of Amber being declared missing, a massive police and community undertaking to find her began, including large numbers of volunteers, all-terrain vehicles, helicopters, boats, as well as church donations and supplies for search teams. But remember the police's response in the days after Jennifer's disappearance? It was, she's probably drunk, she's probably out partying. But Bernice and Wilfred weren't keeping score between the two cases. Though hurt by the disparity of police response, a missing girl was still a missing girl. She could have been anyone's daughter, and nobody knew that better than Jennifer Catcheway's parents. So Bernice and Wilfred volunteered in the search effort for Amber, even speaking out in support for the McFarland family, saying that the McFarlands were beautiful people who were now carrying the same pain that the Catcheways had been carrying for months. If there was any upside to be found in yet another Portage woman going missing, it was that Amber McFarland's disappearance helped generate some interest in Jennifer's case as well. They were both young women from the same town. In fact, the McFarland family lent their support and help in the search effort for Jennifer as well.
But as winter 2008 set in, neither girl had been found. And due to the inclement winter weather that arrives each year in Manitoba, both cases lost momentum. Bernice and Wilfred would have to wait out the freeze until the spring and summer of 2009 before their search could begin again. And that's what they did. Year after year, search and wait.
Since Jennifer's disappearance, her family has searched every conceivable locale in and around the Portage area. They've covered a lot of ground, including Waterhen, Pine Creek, Riding Mountain National Park, and Gibsonville, as well as various bodies of water where Sean Catcheway and Charles Parantu say they left Jennifer. And then in 2015, more than 7 years after Jennifer's disappearance, her family received another curious tip. Someone came forward saying Jennifer had been at a party on the Dakota Tippy First Nation on June 20th, 2008, the day after her birthday. The Dakota Tippy First Nation is an Indigenous reserve in Portage la Prairie, just 10 minutes away from the street on which Jennifer lived. In fact, there were several tips that surfaced from other people who also reported suspicious activity at Dakota Tippy. One person said they heard a woman screaming on the night Jennifer was supposedly on the reserve. And another person reported seeing two men burning clothes in a field on that same evening. With this new information, Jennifer's parents went to the chief of Dakota Tippy First Nation and requested his permission to search the landfill on the reserve. Initially, the chief of Dakota Tippy gave them his full support. He even offered to lend the family digging equipment and assigned additional manpower to assist in the landfill search. But just as things got underway, the chief pulled the plug on the entire operation just 2 days in. Jennifer's disappearance and the tips and circumstances around the need for a search in his landfill were attracting too much negative attention for Dakota Tippy. The investigation was putting a strain on the reputation of his community. It's also important to note that some of the reserve land had also been destroyed by digging equipment. The only way Jennifer's parents could proceed with a search in Dakota Tippy First Nation would require the involvement of authorities and an official warrant. The shirking of support for Jennifer's family by the Dakota Tippy chief sent shockwaves around the reserve. People, especially mothers, were furious the chief had gone back on his word. One of the community's daughters was missing, and almost no one was doing much to find her. Eventually, a meeting was held and the chief allowed the search to continue. If any evidence was found, to this date, it has not been made public. So it seems it was another dead end that the family would have to live with. A few months later, the Catcheway family would endure another loss, one that had a significant impact on Jennifer's case. Just days after Christmas of 2015, Jennifer's uncle, Charles Parantu, was murdered in an area called Duck Bay. At the time, police ordered a second-degree murder warrant for 38-year-old Marvin Chartrand for involvement in Charles's murder. One other strange and suspicious piece of information that surfaced about Charles is that on the same day that Charles, Sean, and Jennifer supposedly drove back to Portage la Prairie from Grand Rapids, Manitoba, June 19th, Jennifer's birthday, there's a record that shows that Charles rented a cabin at a place called the Northbrook Inn in Grand Rapids. He rented the same cabin again on June 21st, but did not rent the cabin on June 20th.
Why would Charles drive Jennifer and Sean all the way back to Portage, then turn around and make the 300-mile trek back to Grand Rapids to stay in a rented cabin? What was he doing? Did Jennifer ever even make it back home to Grand Rapids? We'll never have those answers. Anything Charles may have known about the disappearance of Jennifer Catcheway is lost forever and lies with him in his grave. We're so excited to launch our journal entries series. You can listen ad-free to the journal entries series by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/themurderdiariespod or subscribing on Apple. If you're on Spotify, you can also search The Murder Diaries ad-free and listen there.
So you're probably wondering what journal entries are. And if you've ever had a bestie, you know that you can be on the phone with them forever. Or at least that's how Paige and I's relationship is. We can be on the phone with each other for 45 minutes and not even blink an eye. So that's what these journal entries are. They're going to be things we're reading, watching, and just shooting the shit with each other. That was kind of gross sounding, but... So join us. We can't wait to have you there.
For $2.99, you can join us ad-free. Again, head over to Patreon, search The Murder Diaries ad-free on Spotify, or subscribe on Apple. We'll see you there. Bye.
Join Season of Justice on September 25th, 2024 for our second annual Day of Giving. In honor of National Homicide Victim Remembrance Day, we are looking to double our impact from last year and fund 2 public awareness campaigns in one day. That is $10,000. We need your help to drive meaningful impact for families who have lost or are missing loved ones. Mark your calendars and be sure to donate on September 25th at givebutter.com/SOJDOG24. Together, we can solve cold cases.
Because the RCMP never fully committed to Jennifer Catcheway's missing persons case, Wilfred Catcheway quit his job so that he could devote 100% of his time to the search and recovery of his daughter. He used a video camera to film more than 1,000 hours of interviews with people. He also spent time mapping locations and compiling massive amounts of information on a computer hard drive. He and Bernice were basically doing everything the police should have been doing all along. And as one could imagine, this put a huge amount of stress on Wilfred. He has suffered 2 heart attacks through the years and an immeasurable amount of emotional agony. Through all of his investigative toil, by 2016, Wilfred felt he was closer than ever to finding out what happened to his daughter. The focus was on Duck Bay at this point. From what he had put together, Duck Bay felt like a pivotal location in the story of Jennifer's disappearance. To get to Duck Bay, you had to take the junction where Charles and Sean say that they left Jennifer by the side of the road. But the breadcrumbs quickly ran out and Wilfred wound up at a figurative and literal dead end. He and Bernice were never able to find enough information that connected Jennifer to Duck Bay. Then in 2020, the Catcheways received another tip about Jennifer, this time in the form of a letter with an enclosed map, indicating a specific location where they would find her body. And it wasn't in Duck Bay. The map pointed to a spot just north of Portage. By this time, Wilfred and Bernice were exhausted, defeated, and disappointed by how little they'd learned about what happened to their daughter. It seemed every tip fell apart almost as soon as it materialized. But for the Catcheways, any lead was worth pursuing if it meant it might lead to some kind of closure. Unfortunately, the 2020 letter and map were no different than any of the other leads they'd received through the years. The area was searched, and nothing was found. It's been almost 16 years since Jennifer Catcheway took a joyride with her uncle and cousin, only to vanish from the rural Manitoba roadside. According to Charles Parantu and Sean Catcheway, they dropped her off near Waterhen Junction at Provincial Road 328 and Path Number 6, between Grand Rapids and Portage la Prairie. To this day, Bernice and Wilfred keep searching for Jennifer. Every year they search this lonesome highway intersection. Through the years, all Bernice and Wilfred Catcheway have wanted is the support their daughter's case deserved. Just like any woman who disappears, like Amber McFarlane, all loved ones want is information. They want to know something is being done. They want to be involved in the process and be given support by professionals who have the best interests of the missing at heart. For the Catcheways, that kind of involvement and support either didn't come at all or it came entirely too late. And so the search continues for the Catcheways, and they search alone. Since Jennifer went missing in 2008, we've never stopped. Her mother told CTV News in Winnipeg last year. We've gone every year, every summer. We've been going nonstop. Year after year, when Jennifer's birthday comes around in June, they hold fundraisers and use that money to continue looking for her. I'll never stop searching until I find closure, Wilfred Catcheway says. I know it's been 16 long years. I'll just keep searching. I'll keep searching. How can you give up? You can't.
At the time of Jennifer's disappearance, she had long brown hair, brown eyes, and was wearing a green and white striped shirt. She has a tattoo with the letters JC on her left ankle and another tattoo with the letter J on her left hand.
If you have information regarding the whereabouts of Jennifer Catcheway, contact the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Portage la Prairie at 204-857-4445. You can also contact the Manitoba Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477, as well as the Manitoba Search and Rescue at 204-777-0553. Quick shout out and thanks to Charlie at the Crimelines podcast for her research on Jennifer Catcheway's case. Additional research for today's episode was provided by Brent Davis.
Make sure you follow us on all of our socials at the Murder Diaries Pod. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe right now on Apple Podcasts or on Patreon. And until then,
stay safe.
Bye.
Lucky Land Slots, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.